Hey, everybody, welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. I'm your humble host, St. Francis of Bloomington, Targeted. No, I'm just wearing a Fran Targeted jersey. I'm Ted Glover. Off to my, what direction would that be? That'd be my right, as always. Um, the founder, lead blogger, and numero uno honcho of the SB Nation Minnesota Vikings website, the Daily Norseman, Christopher Gates. And directly below me, as always, the one, the only Drew Bunting. Gentlemen, Vikings, we're closing down. We're inside a minute here. They're going to drop 34-28 to the Philadelphia Eagles, it looks like, and fall to 0-2 on the year. Not what we thought, not what we expected, not what we wanted. Drew, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Well, I kind of figured we needed to have 38 points to win this game, at least, minimum. But I don't know. This is a hard team to figure out, Ted, because if you take away what do they had? 27,000 turnovers the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, I just ran the numbers here. So the Vikings are -3 in turnover margin the first two games. So if you take 3 times 17, you come up with a -51 turnover margin, which is what the Vikings are on pace for this year. Chris, I think that's something you can overcome, to be quite honest.
Well, they turned it over 3 times last week and they couldn't win. So if you can't win when you turn it over 3 times, you probably damn sure can't win when you turn it over 4 times, especially when you fall victim to the dumbest rule in football and fumble the ball out of the end zone when you're a yard away from scoring. Oh, geez. This was a winnable football game, kids. That's what's annoying about this. They had an opportunity to win this game, and they urinated all over themselves, and now they're 0-2.
It's kind of the theme for the year so far.
That's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Was this? We lost the first game on turnovers. We beat ourselves, Tampa Bay. Same thing tonight. I mean, you look at how the 4 turnovers, and it's 34-28. So how do you figure this team? Are they better than what they're showing on the scoreboard, or are they good teams don't implode and make these mistakes? Which are they? What are the Vikings right now? Because it's hard for me to pinpoint it. I don't want to talk about moral victories. I'm not in it for that, but
they are a bad football team. Look, man, I go back to what Bill Parcells says. You know, we have all been kind of around the block when it comes to watching football, and you can run stats and have numbers and whatever you want to say, find an advanced stat to suit your argument. But when you are 0-2 and -6 on the turnover margin, it doesn't matter how many yards your quarterback throws for. It doesn't matter how many yards your running back runs for, which in the Vikings case is pathetic. You are 0-2, and that is not good.
It's so frustrating. I'm very frustrated right now, and I got a little Crown Royal going right now and a margarita, so I'm happy with that. But this team kicks themselves in the ass a lot.
Yeah, they have. Well, we're down to about 10 seconds, and Brandon Powell didn't fumble it. That's good.
Yeah, time to run the annexation of Puerto Rico.
I mean, it's really easy to say the Vikings could be 2-0. I can say that from all my experience watching football. If you take the turnovers away, because it's not like they're not committing any turnovers and losing 40-0. I mean, they're still in these games, even though they're shooting themselves in the foot. So it's hard to figure this team. What happens if they play a clean game?
Well, if they play, if my aunt had a pair of balls, she'd be my uncle. I mean, seriously, it doesn't matter if they play a clean game. They have proved through 2 games that they are incapable of playing clean football. I mean, it just, I don't know. We got timeout. I'm sure. Oh, Eagles called timeout. Got time for one play. Vikings only need, 85 yards to score a touchdown and win. I'm just doable.
Something like that.
Way ahead of you, dude.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I want to go back. Since this game's about over, I want to go back to the first quarter of this game where it started out. Early on, Josh, and this is kind of goes back to this crisis of confidence I think some fans are starting to have with the Vikings. Josh Metellus got hurt. Safety Theo Jackson comes in and immediately gives up a 54-yarder to Lewis Seen. or to Devontae Smith.
Devonta Smith.
Lewis Cine is nowhere to be found. I mean, he is like safety 5 on a team with 4 safeties.
Right.
And he was a first-round pick last year. I don't know what that says about Lewis Cine or not. I don't know. Chris, what do you think?
It doesn't speak terribly highly of him. I mean, if you're only going to play 3 safeties and a guy you spent a first-round pick on as safety, he's obviously no better than safety number 5. That's bad. I mean, I don't know if we can call him a bust already, but for crying out loud, the guy at least has to get on the field at some point before before he turns out to be a complete loss.
Kirk's Hail Mary falls short. Vikings lose 34-28. They're 0-2, and now they have historically anywhere from a 10 to 11% chance of making the playoffs this year. Drew, just go. Just talk.
Well, first off, we got to see what this team's like without imploding on themselves with turnovers. Let's play a clean game and see where we come out on the other end of it. I don't know who we got next week, but the Vikings are killing themselves. They had the punt return fumble, which would have been 1st and 10 at the Philly 31.
Would have been in Philly's territory.
Then they had the fumble in the end zone by Jefferson.
Yep.
Which would, they're taking points off the board. It's just all hell is breaking loose for KOC. I don't know.
And before Powell fumbled it on his punt return, the Eagles punt returner fumbled it. And if the Vikings could have fallen on that one, it would have been 1st and goal at like the 5-yard line. But
yep.
None of the fumbles that have occurred in any of the Vikings games this year have been recovered by the Vikings.
I mean, there's a lot of crap going on right now, Ted, but the fact that we've kicked ourselves in the nuts so many times and we've been in these 2 games makes me not want to throw in the towel.
Oh, that's fair.
I want to see them play a clean game and see what comes out on the other end of it. There's something going on with this team. Maybe it's just a bad luck streak or whatever, but they had a shot of winning this game. The defense is playing great the first half.
I think it's kind of a regression to the mean. I mean, the Vikings had just about every bounce go their way last year, and now nothing is going their way. I mean, we talked about the early turnovers. Brandon Powell fumbles that punt. Then Theo Jackson makes up for that pick that big play Devontae Smith had and picks off Jalen Hurts. And then the very first play the Vikings have on offense, Alexander Mattison fumbled.
Terrible.
I mean, the defense, you look at the numbers and you're going to say, my God, 38 points and 250 yards rushing. And look, those are legitimate arguments. But for the most part, the defense played a decent game up until they were just on the field because the offense couldn't get out of their own way.
The Eagles had the ball for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
What do you expect the defense to do? They're going to get gassed. They are.
Yeah, 39-28 on the time of possession for Philadelphia. The first half, I think the Vikings had the ball for like 8 minutes or something just ridiculous.
I mean,
like that.
come on.
And they should have been ahead going into halftime despite all that.
Yeah,
right.
They should have.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're imploding upon themselves gives me hope that they can get on a run here. Get on a run and show what they really mean. And it's so frustrating to watch. It's so frustrating to watch because the defense is playing well, Ted.
Yeah, they are. And guys, before we go any further, look, thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate it. We've got over 100 folks in the room now talking and chatting. We're going to give away a prize at the end of the night. All you need to do is enter or just make a comment in the live chat. Ruby's kind of keeping track of everybody. At the end of the game or at the end of the show, she's going to spin the Toonces Wheel of Destiny, and you're going to be a prize winner. Somebody is. So we'll just keep talking, keep chatting. If as long as you make a comment, you're entered for the prize at the end of the game. And Chris, you bring up a good point. As poorly as the Vikings played, that after that Madison fumble, the Eagles, Jake Elliott missed a field goal, which I think is the first time in NFL history that an opposing kicker has missed a field goal attempt against the Minnesota Vikings. Pretty happy about that. Very significant emotional event for me.
He made up for it later, though.
Yeah, he did. And then the Vikings got on track. Drew and I were kind of talking about this after that drive. That was the offense we were looking to see. I mean, Drew, you said they ran some misdirection. They got T.J. Hawkinson out of the tight end screen mode and had him stretch the field, go down range. That drive was a thing of beauty. 55 yards touchdown, and all of a sudden, holy crap! The Vikings, as poorly as they played, they're up 7-3. Drew.
Sure, and I thought the offense played a lot better than they did week 1.
Yeah,
they were doing the rollout, play action, misdirection stuff, and they're keeping the Eagles on their. It was just getting rid of the ball faster and everything. It just seemed like a really good drive. It seemed like a really good approach to what they wanted to do offensively. It's just these untimely turnovers. It's like, dude, you can't. Momentum is a big thing, like in hockey, as it is in NFL football. When you get an interception, Ted, you can't turn it over on the next play. You can't, because you took all that momentum and you drained it right down the drain. So I don't know. This one's really tough to face because I thought the Vikings were going to win this game, and I think they could have if they didn't. I don't know. Hunter played well, as Raymond Hoagland said. Hunter's an amazing defender. I thought the defense held it together except for a few miscues. But where do you put this game? Coaching, offense, defense? I don't know where to put it. You guys?
Chris, go ahead. You try and answer that. I got my opinion.
I mean,
you go.
There's a lot of factors to look at for this one. I mean, obviously they go in on a short week. I was expecting them to go into Philadelphia and just get their doors blown off, to be honest with you. I mean, this is a Philadelphia team that went to the Super Bowl last year. We saw what their offensive line is capable of, open up 250-plus rushing yards worth of holes for their running backs. Their defensive front might be the best in the NFL. And, the Vikings, if they could stop turning this team is averaging nearly one turnover a quarter this season. We played 8 quarters of football, and we've turned the ball over 7 times. You're not going to beat anybody turning the ball over once a quarter. It's just not going to happen for you. It's bad.
So here's another. So the Vikings take the lead, go 7-3, and then the Eagles kind of unveiled what they're going to do for the rest of the evening. They go on a 16-play, 75-yard drive. They ran it 13 times, and they go up 7-10 or 10-7. And look, we all knew coming into the season the Vikings defensive line was undersized, and they were going to have to try and scheme and all other kinds of stuff to get on an even playing level. But they just have no big dudes on the interior defensive line to stop the run. And I would like to know, if you draft a guy like Jaquelin Roy, why was he inactive tonight? When you know the Eagles have a very good running game, they have a guy like Jalen Hurts who can run the ball, and I don't know. It's just frustrating.
I have no idea.
Is Jaquelin Roy Hercules Mataafa? Because that guy is on. I mean, come on, you got to get healthy and get in there. Get in there and play. Come on.
I don't think he's hurt. I just think he was a healthy scratch. I didn't see anything about him being hurt.
The only guy who was out because of an injury was Bradbury with the back injury. Of course, they said that both Christian Darrisaw and Marcus Davenport were active, but Davenport, I don't know if he was out there after the first snap. We didn't see Darrisaw all night. I mean, I think Udo started at tackle, and then when he went out with the injury, and I hope he's all right and whatnot, but they put David Quessenberry in at left tackle, not Christian Darrisaw. So, yeah, his ankle issue must have been a whole lot worse than they were letting on. Hopefully, by the time the Chargers come to town here in a week and a half, he'll be ready to go.
Ted Glover, why would you hold Roy out as a healthy scratch? It's not like you got a bunch of ass kickers in there.
I don't know.
It's not like you got guys kicking ass. Get him in there.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question. It doesn't make, somebody posted I asked that question on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it now. And somebody replied he has one of the lowest RAS scores, that raw athletic score. And so if that's the case, then why draft the dude? I mean, I don't know, man. The Vikings. Look, we knew coming in the Vikings defense didn't have a lot of talent, but I would say even though they gave up a lot of rushing yards, they kept this team in the game for about as long as they possibly could.
What is that number you said? He doesn't have what?
RAS, the raw athletic score. It's like it's a bunch of measurements and
you know what?
They kind of predict whether or not a guy will be successful. And 10 is a perfect score. He had something 3 something or other. So I don't know.
Look at that defense interior. Every time they ran it, they got 7 yards up the middle.
Oh God, it was.
Don't give me no RAS. Give me BS because you should be in there. At least give him a shot at it. How can it hurt, Chris Gates? How can it hurt having changing it up a little bit?
It can't. I mean, they're given. I know Harrison Phillips can't do it by himself, but they're giving that dude a lot of money to stop the run. I know. I'm not sure about Ted, but I know you and I were both high on Kyrus Tonga coming out of college and thought he might be able to. I mean, he's a big dude, but he's out there getting thrown around. He might be my most disappointing defensive player for the Vikings this season because a dude that big should at least be able to stop the run a little bit, but he's just getting tossed around out there. It's terrible.
Or just occupy blockers, man. Just take up space.
Yeah.
Drew, you've said it how many times over the last 2 years since the Vikings went to a 3-4 last year? Marie Munson, Raz, is that a crap rating? Nicholas Russo had asked earlier, is Dalton Risner one of the prizes available in the prize vault? I kind of wish. But you had said that you've got to have a if you're going to run a 3-4, and for it to be effective, you have got to have a guy in the middle that can occupy blockers to allow the linebackers to come in and make a play. And the Vikings they don't have that guy. I mean, Harrison Phillips is
Philly does.
Yeah,
Philly
they do.
does.
They got 2 or 3 guys.
Yes,
Philly has
they
like
do.
8 of those guys. I mean, damn.
Yeah. So, and then, we talked about the Jefferson fumble, that Eagles go that long drive, go up 10-7. It looks like before the half, the Vikings might score, and then they were going to get the ball to start the second half. And JJ makes this great catch, gets down inside the 5. He stretches for the goal line. He fumbles the ball out of the end zone, and that touchback, and the other team gets it. It's just the dumbest, stupid rule in football. I've hated it for years. I'm always going to hate it.
Yeah, it's the dumbest rule in football, but until someone goes ahead and changes it, it's still the rule, and it still comes and bites teams in the ass 5 or 6
and that's
times.
3 turnovers at that point. Yeah, the Vikings have 3 turnovers at that point.
Yep. And then, like we said, the Eagles, of course, take advantage because the Eagles kicker booted one from Allegheny or some
61 yards
place
from the frickin' Erie Canal. Jake Elliott nails a field goal.
Of all the 60-plus yard field goals in NFL history, I would love to see how many of them have come against the Minnesota Vikings because it's got to be damn near all of them.
75% of them.
Every kicker that kicked against Minnesota is probably in the Hall of Fame. I mean, they make everything. Just horrible luck. I mean, it looks like for a minute we're going to take the lead, and then they kick the long field goal. It's like,
yeah. So what should have been a 14-10 lead for the Vikings going into the locker room with the Vikings getting the ball to start the half. It's 13-7 deficit. The Vikings come out, going to make a statement. Kirk Cousins fumbles the ball on like the second snap.
Let's get into Kirk Cousins a little bit. Let's get into this O-line, Chris Gates, and Kirk Cousins. I mean,
let's talk. All right.
Let's talk about Kirk Cousins and the O-line because he can't do 7-step drops. He can't hand the ball off up the middle or anything off tackle. What can he do?
I believe it was the great and noted football mind Giselle Bundchen who once very adroitly pointed out that he cannot effing block for himself at this point because anybody who wants to slander Kirk Cousins just save it. I mean that dude goes out there and gets his ass kicked every single week because the team can't keep blockers off of him, and he just keeps getting up. He had 4 touchdown passes tonight. Yeah, he had the 1 turnover. There were 3 other dudes from the Vikings that turned it over too, and whatnot. But I find it hard to believe that anybody can. I don't want to say hate, but dislike Kirk Cousins at this point, or put any of this stuff at his feet, because that dude plays his ass off every week, and I've been on record saying that I like the guy a lot, but it's ridiculous. Cousins is a very good NFL quarterback, and we're pretty damn lucky to have him at this point.
Right.
I don't know how many other quarterbacks could take the level of abuse that guy takes and just keep getting up the way he does.
So here's a couple comments, and I want you guys to talk about this. What Quasi is doing with the offensive line is criminal. That's from Vicologist, who I want to say last weekend I got to meet in person for the first time. Got a burger from his tailgate. It was great. Thanks, Vicologist. Appreciate you.
Nice.
Was it a good burger, Ted?
Oh, it was a great burger. It
was a great burger.
Freaking huge.
So, and then what? So he talks about that, and then Chris Young mentions the decision to let Cook go is looming large, running game and passing game. I watched Dalvin Cook. I watched that Monday night game. I think Dalvin Cook's done. I still think the Vikings made the right decision getting rid of Dalvin Cook. I don't think Alexander Madison is. I thought he might be, but after 2 games, he does not look like an RB1. But I will tell you this: I don't think Earl Campbell or Walter Payton would look like a top running back behind this offensive line right now.
No, absolutely not. I mean,
well, Earl Campbell maybe.
Earl Campbell didn't go. Earl Campbell didn't go around people. He would put his helmet right in the middle of Ezra Cleveland's back and push that dude forward for 5 yards.
Isaiah Robertson still wakes up in the night with cold sweats after that hit Earl laid on him in the Astrodome back in the day.
The sternum hit?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
The one where Campbell wound up not having a jersey to wear anymore.
Yeah, had old tearaway jerseys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the running game.
Yeah, because tonight, so last week, week 1, the Vikings had, I believe, 41 yards rushing.
They had less tonight.
Tonight they had 28 as an ode to Ahmad Rashad or Adrian Peterson. Take your pick. They tallied 28 yards. So 41 plus 28, 41, 51, 61. They have #nice 69 yards rushing on the entire freaking season.
And before you rip on Kirk Cousins, you need to look at that number, Ted.
Yes, you do.
Because that's not helping him. The running game is not helping Kirk Cousins at all.
No.
You don't win in the. I know it's a passing league now, but you don't win in the National Football League averaging 34 yards rushing a game.
You don't. You don't have to run for 254 yards every week like the Ohio State Eagles just did against the Youngstown State Vikings, whatever. But you have to have a running game that is at least has to be respected by the opposing defense.
Sure.
And the Vikings don't even have that because the Vikings offensive line for the 23rd or 24th season in a row is absolutely god-awful. Where's the Minnesota Moving Company when you need them?
Oh.
This offensive line has struggled since 2012 at least. I mean, yeah. I know we bitched about guys like Bryant McKinney and dudes like that. You would give your left arm to have Bryant McKinney on this offensive line right now. I mean, I know they have the tackle situation figured out, but dudes like that, where's Anthony Herrera, for God's sake, when we need him? Or,
where's Chris Lewinsky? Give me Chris Lewinsky, for Christ's sakes.
It's weird, though, is in the first half, they started going 3-step drop, those little square outs to KJ Osborne, getting the first down.
Yeah.
They seemed like they had a plan to move the football. They had the 3-step drop. They weren't doing – they changed from the first quarter, but they found something that moves the football besides the run.
Yeah.
And which is what they should do. The Vikings are a passing team. That's their strong point. They should do that.
Yeah.
And then it all went to hell after that, Ted. It's just like –
I don't know. There was a comment. Kevin McMahon is a guy I follow on Twitter, and he's got a lot of good insight. He's over here a lot on our comments and stuff. And he said, look, here's the thing. he made a prediction that Kirk, his luck is going to run out. He kind of predicted it would happen tonight. And when you have a line that is that consistently bad, at some point with all the hits Kirk has accumulated, his body is just going to give out, and he's going to get hurt, and he's going to start missing games. And the Vikings have neglected this offensive line. And people are saying what Kwesi's doing. Somebody said earlier what Kwesi's doing with the offensive line is criminal. I would argue this happened long before Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah got here. The Vikings offensive line had become terrible under Rick Spielman. And I'll give Rick credit. He tried to address it. He just could never, other than drafting Darisaw, I think maybe his last draft, he never got it fixed. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, I mean, Spielman brought us Darisaw and O'Neal, which is all well and good.
Yeah,
like I said, we've got the tackle situation figured out, but the center position hasn't been any good since like Matt Burke left town. I don't think back in I can't remember when he left, like 2010 or 2011, one of those years. And the guards have just been a mess. I mean, God knows we've thrown pretty much everything at the wall and nothing is stuck there. I mean, I don't know what, and it's not like we're drafting scrubs. I mean, the starting interior of the Vikings offensive line is a first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. So we're spending premium draft capital to try to fix this, and the dudes they're picking are just not fixing it.
No, like all just says, shouldn't have re-signed Bradbury. I
don't
know. I thought last year he kind of was worth giving another 1-year shot to. I thought he became decent last year.
I want to say this for Schlottman. I know Schlottman is a number 2 center. He was facing the best nose tackles in football tonight. Davis, Carter. I mean, come on, Ted.
Best defensive line in football. I'd agree with that.
I think so. And it's like you can't really judge him on that. I know he's a backup, but it's tough to call this one, Ted. It is.
And I think Drew and I mentioned this last week after the loss to Tampa when Ted was having the technical difficulties or whatever. Bradbury missed the last 5 games of the regular season last year with a back issue, and we're all old dudes now, so we know that once you screw up your back never actually gets better. It just gets varying degrees of worse as it goes along. And so this is something he's going to have to deal with for the rest of his career. And, they brought him back to be the starting guy this year. I can understand part of it, but it's just, he's going to have to deal with this, and we'll probably work around it somehow.
Ted?
Hang on, real quick. Let me comment on Bradbury. Because Ryan Johnson, our boy Rhino, says Bradbury's back issue is my biggest concern. Back injuries don't get better. He's going to end up going the John Sullivan route. Hard to disagree at this point. Go ahead, buddy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just wanted to say the Vikings have to start a rebuild on the offensive line. Bradbury's not it.
I don't think so. Probably not.
Bradbury's not it. So you need to start. Man, it's tough to say. Center, moving out from guard. I like the tackles, but if they don't make the trenches better on offense, Ted, they're going to get blown out.
Yeah, there's nothing, and the thing is, there's nothing you can really do at this point. I mean, Oli Udo's injury looked bad. That means now you've got what was the guy's name that came in for him? Questenberry, yeah. Former sidearm relief pitcher for the Kansas City Royals back in the 80s.
That's right.
And he's helped them win the World Series in '85, I believe it was. But so now you're looking at you're going to third string guys, and one of the things the Vikings preached about their offensive line in the offseason was, look, we got all 5 guys coming back, and continuity is a huge deal, and I agreed with it. I think that is very true. It's very accurate. You have to have guys that have played together so they can understand each other's tendencies. Everybody knows their assignments, and the group is better than the individual. But when you are banking on that, and now you're already at week 2, and you're down your starting center, and you're down to your third string left tackle, that's out the window, and that strategy is gone. It no longer works.
No, I mean, but like we said, Bradbury's not it. At this point, I don't know if Ezra Cleveland's it. I'm pretty sure Ed Ingram is not it at this point. But it's hard to say. And like you said, there's really nothing. Sure, you can sign Dalton Risner, whatever, blah blah blah. But that's still it's not going to help that much. I don't think.
It can't hurt though. It can't hurt.
Well, no, it can't hurt. But
Ted and Chris, can we talk a little bit about the running game? Let me throw it to you about the running game. What do you think about the running game?
What running? There's no running game.
I thought we already talked
Is that a complete? Well, no, is that a complete disaster at this point?
Yeah, I mean, look, if your centers and guards can't win at the point of attack, you're not gonna be able to run the ball. I mean, the only time I saw any effective running is when the Vikings ran the perimeter. Madison had a couple of good runs. Ty Chandler didn't even get into the game until the second half. I mean, he's a guy that might be able to make you some money on the edge. I don't know. I don't know, man. I just, if this is what it is going forward, I don't think you can say this is a good football team at all, because their inability to run the ball is going to get them to maybe 6 wins. Maybe.
Which puts a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, it sure does. And I mean, Kirk threw for 360 something tonight, I think it was.
Let me get the numbers up here. It was 31 of 44 for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns.
I mean, it's
what more do people want from that guy?
I don't know. I don't know. I do not know.
Dude's just so pissed off that we didn't keep Teddy Bridgewater in 2016 or something. I mean, seriously.
Right. RMer33 says Risner is a Band-Aid that you're putting on a gunshot wound. I'll agree with you. But it might staunch the bleeding enough that you can get a somewhat balanced game, balanced offense, and kind of cobble something together. This is really starting to remind me 2 weeks into the 2016 Vikings offensive line when 5 or 6 dudes got injured and they had to call Jake Long out of retirement to play tackle.
And he remember that? And he lasted 2 weeks before he got injured.
Then he snapped his Achilles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And when you add that on top of the defensive line, we've said this for years, and it's one of the absolute truisms in football. You win football games in the trenches, and right now the Vikings are getting whipped on both sides of the football. Absolutely whipped.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, the secondary and the linebackers have looked good when they've gotten their opportunities, but that defensive front is just bad all the way around. And like we said, we gave Harrison Phillips a lot of money to not be bad, and that play. I don't want to break down just one play. That right at the end of the third quarter, the Eagles were looking at 3rd and 3. And the entire stadium knew they weren't snapping the ball. They line up and they start barking signals, and here comes Harrison Phillips. First down.
Why did he do that? Why did he do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Chris is right. Why did he do that? That's exactly what they wanted to get you to do. I mean,
that's the only reason you line up at that point.
Terrible. Just horrible. You cannot jump off.
Yeah, Marie Munson said a couple times, she's absolutely right. Kirk's not the problem. There's a lot of issues with this football team right now, and Kirk's not the issue.
We got 99 problems, and Kirk
Cousins ain't one of them. T. Kubler says sign Willie Beavers. I don't know. That made me laugh, man. That's a prize right there. T. Kubler, congratulations. You just won a prize. You made me laugh. Get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report and Drew at Ted@gmail.com. And by God, Quasi signed Willie Beavers. Make Kubler Nostradamus, man.
This is what? Where do we stand with Kevin O'Connell right now? What's he thinking? 13-4 last year. We're getting all the magic. We're getting all the good plays. And this year has just gone into the toilet, Ted.
Last year, Kevin O'Connell struck the right tone with this team. I think he was the perfect coach for that locker room based on what had happened with the previous regime. when you start 0-2 and you are -6 in turnover margin, and you have players making dumb penalties like Harrison Phillips tonight, and I was at the game last week. I don't know. I can't remember who made who was jumped off sides on the
Dave
field
Ward.
goal. Okay, Ward.
Yeah, lined up
That
offsides.
that goes back to coaching. If we say that was a problem with Mike Zimmer when that happened, then we can't say it's not a problem with Kevin O'Connell, because it absolutely is. Bad teams are poorly coached. I don't know what you need to do. I remember when way back in the day, if somebody fumbled on our team, you had to carry a football around school for like the whole day, the whole week until the next game. I mean, look, that's dumb. It seems sophomoric, but it works. The Vikings are not a very well coached team right now, because they keep turning the ball over. They keep making stupid, dumb mistakes at the absolute worst times, and that's coaching. It is. It is.
I mean, they only had 2 penalties tonight for what that's worth. I mean, one of them was the really, really dumb one, and the other one was a holding penalty on Brian O'Neill on one of the drives for it. But they only had the 2 penalties tonight. But yeah, the fumbling, I don't know how much of that goes back to coaching. I mean, obviously Kevin O'Connell can't hold on to the football for people or anything like that. But, there's something that's got to be done, because if this team doesn't turn the football over, they're probably 2-0 right now. But, they're not.
Yeah.
And that's just where they are right now.
I mean, that's two touchdowns taken off the board at the end of the half the first 2 weeks. They had KJ Osborne with the interception on the goal line last week, and then you had the Jefferson fumble that went out of the end zone for a touchback tonight. And then Cam says KOC calling timeouts at the wrong time too. Tell me what the hell the deal was with that timeout at the end of the first half that you absolutely needed, and then the Vikings could not run a play, get it in. Well, I don't know. Whatever.
It's always bad when you call a timeout when the clock is already stopped.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, terrible.
So yeah, Reggie Adams 7 turnovers in 8 games is just unacceptable. It is. Everybody talked about how the Vikings were just living on luck last year. Maybe there's something to that. Good teams make their own luck, and bad teams make their own bad luck. And the Vikings have made their own bad luck these first 2 games in a lot of ways.
They certainly have.
So
yes.
So the Vikings, they fumble the ball. The Eagles go get the ball back down 27-14, or they hold the Eagles. They get the ball back. And the Vikings go 3 and out, and they had a 4th and 4. They're down 27-14. They're down. It's 4th and 4 on their own 36, and it just felt like we talk about another coaching decision. The momentum was completely against you at that point. The Eagles had scored 2 touchdowns right off the bat to open the second half, and I just felt the Vikings should have just gone for it there. That just seemed like a surrender thing. I don't know. Was it? Was it not? Chris, you tell me.
I mean, I at this point, I don't know what the hell Kevin O'Connell's doing half the time. I mean, it's just, I can see the wisdom behind going for it there, but then if you go for it there and you don't make it, you're handing the ball to the Eagles again in field goal range, and like you said, they've already scored touchdowns on 2 possessions in a row, and at that point, it's just, it's really kind of a no-win situation. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. And the Vikings decided to punt it away, and it kind of worked out for them, because they got back to within 1 score again after their possession. But yeah, I could see the argument for either direction at that point.
Philadelphia had the most insane drive numbers I've ever seen, and Al Michaels mentioned, he said somewhere Woody Hayes must be proud. Eagles won 15 plays, 44 yards, no points. Chewed up a whole bunch of time, and it was ended when Daniil Hunter had those back-to-back sacks. And then the Vikings went. They do this 9-play, 86-yard drive. KJ Osborne scores a touchdown, and then just right when we think we're getting back in it, Philly goes 8 plays, 75 yards, runs the ball down the Vikings' throat, pretty much goes lights out. The Vikings get a garbage time touchdown, and it ends 34-28. I don't know. People are talking about the Chargers game next week. Chris Young calling my shot. Vikes 38, Chargers 17. T. Cooler says Chargers Kendrick's revenge game. Let me throw this schedule out at you, boys. So we got the Chargers at home next week. The week after that's the Adam Thielen revenge game in Carolina. Then they've got the Chiefs, and there's somebody's revenge game, I don't know, at home. Then they're at the Bears.
Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, Jarek McKinnon. There you go. Jarek McKinnon revenge game. Chiefs at home. Then they're at the Bears. That's the Amir Smith-Marset revenge game. I don't know if he's still in the NFL.
Smith-Marset's in Carolina now.
Oh, okay.
So okay. A double revenge game in week 4.
Yeah. And then they're at home against Nick Bosa and the dastardly San Francisco 49ers. Boys, they're 0-2. I don't see them being favored in but maybe one of these next 5 games. I'd argue the Carolina game, maybe the Bears game, if the Bears suck as bad as we think they do. If the Vikings don't figure something out, this season already is teetering on the edge. It's going to go south really fast.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, totally agree. I mean, they got to figure out a running game. They got to figure out how to stop the run. They got to figure a lot of things out, and they haven't got a hell of a lot of time to do it.
Drew, are they going to figure it out, or you think we're? I mean, we're kind of on the fence. What are your thoughts as we're about 45 minutes into this show, getting ready to call it a night?
I think the Vikings win all those games except maybe the Niner one.
Really?
Yeah.
That's bold. Shit.
The Vikings are going to win like 4 or 5 straight games. I'm
okay. I'm kind of vibing at 1-4 right now.
No. The Vikings are going to win all of them but one. Maybe the Niner game.
Really?
Yes. Write it down. Chuck it down, Ted Glover. I want Vikings. You're going to win 4 straight.
So you got them down at 5-2. So Chris, 0-2 with the Chargers at Carolina, the Chiefs at home, at the Bears, at the 49ers. Where do you see the Vikes after 7 games?
I think they beat Carolina. I think they beat the Bears. And I'm going to give them the game against the Chargers, too. So I'll put them at 3-4.
Or 3-4. All right. I'm going 0-2. Yeah.
3-4?
I think
that's not 7 games. I mean, what?
3-4 is 7 the last time.
3-4 is 7. 3-4 is 7 there, Stephen Hawking. I got him. I'll be generous. I'm gonna go 2-5. 2-5. All right.
Vikings are gonna roll. They're gonna start.
They better figure. They better pull their head out of their ass. If they keep going -3 in the turnover game every week, they ain't winning jack. Damn it.
They won't.
Yeah.
All righty. So we got. It's getting kind of late. I got to get up early tomorrow. I'm here. You can tell I'm not my normal background. I'm in Minneapolis, Bloomington for work. I got to get up early tomorrow. So Ruby, Toon says the talking cat. Are you there?
Hello.
Hi. Spin the wheel before Drew burps again.
Hi, Toon says.
Drew's had a little bit too many, guys.
I do have a question for Ruby and her legal mind here. If the Vikings offensive line gets Kirk Cousins killed, are they accessories or co-conspirators?
There would be some contributory negligence there, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Look. I'm writing that contributory. Is that contributory? Is that with an R? Contributory.
Write that down, Ted Glover. Write it down.
Negligence. All right.
All right, here we go.
All right, spin the wheel, Rube.
Oops. Here we go.
Invisible wheel. Nice.
You can't see it?
There's no names. Ruby, do it over.
Riley Emmer.
Is
the winner. There we go.
I'm sorry, I don't know why you couldn't see it, but
the name's
Riley Emmer.
Riley Emmer. Good.
Riley Emmer, congratulations. Get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com to claim your prize. Tough one tonight, boys. Vikes fall to 0-2. Season's kind of teetering on the brink. Drew's a lot more optimistic than Chris or I. last thoughts, gentlemen. Chris, real quick. Anything?
Yeah, we got a long week before the Chargers game. And this Sunday we can just kind of sit back and watch football and kind of just enjoy ourselves, I guess. But yeah, like I said, the Vikings got a few things to figure out, and they don't have a hell of a lot of time to do it. So we'll just look forward to week 3. See what happens from there.
Drew, you got anything before we sign off and say goodnight?
No, I'm kind of in full agreement with Chris. This hasn't been what we wanted it to be.
No, it is not.
We'll reconvene next week, Ted.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. If the Vikings can hold on to the ball, I think they might be okay. But man, they got to start holding on to the ball and maybe be able to run it. All right, for Drew, for Chris, for Ruby, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for commenting. Congratulations to our prize winners. Drew and I will be back next Friday for the Chargers game preview, and then after the game next Sunday, we will be on the air live. Drew, Chris, and Ted from Vikings Report Rewind. So for everybody here, thanks, Skol Vikings, and we'll see you on the flip side.